Hello and welcome to another Outdoor Scientist. This time we're at the gorgeous Abbey Royale de la Rieux in France. And this episode we're going to talk today a little bit about weather. Our particular weather is going to be frost. I've got a stunning scene behind me here of the frost on the trees and the frost on the ground. But how does frost form? We know it's ice, we know it's cold, but we've got different types of frost. First of all, we're going to talk about the air frost. Now today it is really, really cold. It might be sunny, but it's really, really cold. Now air frost is when the air temperature itself drops below freezing. The air is made up of a composition of lots of different gases. We've got 78% nitrogen, we've got about 21% oxygen. We've got a tiny amount of water vapour constantly in our air. And when the air temperature drops below freezing, that water vapour that's in the air, those gaseous particles, they turn to ice. So air frost is when you've got just freezing cold water particles in the air itself. Now what happens though when the ground drops below freezing? Drops below things that we call like the dew point, or just drops below 0 degrees centigrade, so freezing point of water. Now what happens then is that water vapour that's in the air, as soon as it comes into contact with that frozen surface, that cold surface, the water vapour freezes on the surface. So it's not ice as such, like sheet ice, it's small tiny crystals, small tiny particles of water vapour that are frozen when they come into contact with that ground or that surface that's gone below freezing. So that's what we can see behind me on the grass here and on the ground behind me. Water vapour from the air, as it's come into contact with that cold surface, it's immediately gone from the gaseous state into the solid state, completely bypassing liquid water at all. So frost is just air particles, water particles in the air that are frozen in contact with the ground when the ground has dropped below dew point, below freezing temperature. So we've got air frost, we've got ground frost. Now there are other types of frost that you get as well. A hoar frost, where you get those fine filaments of frost building up on things. So more and more particles from the air attaching to those frozen frost particles that are on the ground. We also have something that's called a glaze. Now I have to say, coming from the southeast of England, I hadn't often seen a glaze, but here in France, temperatures can get very, very cold in the winter. We have glorious days, but the temperatures at night can get really, really cold. If you've had a bit of a dank night where you've had a bit of drizzle and the air's a bit damp, if your surface temperature, the ground, the trees, if that drops below freezing, then that drizzly air will freeze on the branches of the trees, on the fences, on the ground. And it literally looks like they are soaking wet. They're not. They've got a fine layer of perfect ice all the way around them. Not this white frosty stuff that you're seeing on the branches around me today, but perfect, see-through, clear, glistening ice. It's absolutely beautiful to see. So a glaze, when the surface itself is dropping below freezing temperature, and when the rain and the moisture in the air is becoming super cooled because the air temperature's dropped so low, but it hasn't yet turned to ice in the air. It hasn't been able to get rid of all that excess energy in the air. It's as soon as it touches that cold surface, it immediately turns to this lovely glistening ice. So we've got a glaze as well, which isn't really a frost, it's just perfect ice. But that's what's happening in the air around me right now. We've got cold temperatures. We've got water vapour turning into ice itself on the ground, on the trees. And that's our frost. So many different types of frost. So next time it's a cold day, have a little look around you. If you've got frost around you, see if you can see if it's just a nice white ground frost. See if you've got the hoar frost with all the fluffy bits of ice building up on top of the frost itself that's already on the ground. If it's a freezing cold night, is the ice a little bit glittery in the sky? Have you got an air frost? You generally don't tend to see it, but it might be cold enough sometimes that you can. If you've ever been up on a mountain at all, I've been up in the Alps in Austria, and the ice in the air was glittering where it was so cold. It just looked like there was glitter all around me. Air frost, but that's where it was just so cold. Anyway, thank you for joining me today at this gorgeous location in France. And I hope that you've enjoyed my video. If you do, like and subscribe, and we'll do some more outdoor science next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.